many things which human beings are striving to realize, to bring the goodness to the world, to bring understanding and love in the life, to live a quality of joy and celebration, to live with more care and compassion. All these are very valuable orientations, and that is what makes human life very unique, because a human being can rise to this potential. But what is often not rightly understood and which needs very careful consideration and understanding is the fact that even when you bring certain things through rules and regulations, through certain kind of conceptual basis, and make it like the standard, that is valuable, that is necessary, but you have to understand that everybody is interpreting the same words, the same expressions, according to the standards and values of their time and according to the individual and cultural, social, political, religious background which each person has. That is why you will find that in our modern times, the perspective of democracy, one has to consider it very carefully. Democracy is a very valuable orientation because it starts by accepting and respecting everyone, and through that giving everyone a certain quality of being part of the reality. Otherwise, there were rulers, kings who have come to power and they decided what everybody should do, how things should be. And it was all decided from someone else who did not consider always what are the other aspects of the reality. But democracy is an attempt to give everybody the chance, and it is only possible that it becomes healthy when everyone is also becoming alert about not only their chance, but also their responsibility in exercising the possibility of voting. There are so many factors which are deciding the whole thing, but one very important factor is that everybody needs to be aware that it is not something which can go on automatically in a healthy direction, because when we are not going so consciously, when we are not going so responsibly, we are very easily getting manipulated, and we are manipulable. So unless we are becoming aware what is the challenge, what is the meaning of bringing consciousness, what does it mean to be responsible? It is not enough when one is just going to the vote. That is one important aspect, but you need to consider, you need to understand, what are you voting for? What are you wanting to avoid? What are your choices? And also to realize that our real challenge is not someone else. Our real challenge is the unconscious factors which are working in us. So the democracy as a system is very beautiful and valuable, but like everything which has been valuable and beautiful in the human societies, it is also very susceptible, very vulnerable, and it needs an ongoing alertness, an ongoing remembrance. What is the sense behind it? Then only you can see that democracy is a basic shift from an approach of power, force, control, punishment, an approach of not following hatred, not following anger and revengefulness, but orienting to a more human, intelligent, compassionate way of being with each other and dealing with the conflicts and problems in that way. It also presupposes the very fact that it is not only an accepting and respecting of oneself, but it's also accepting and respecting the diversity in nature. Individually and culturally, socially, religiously, there is diversity in the world. So it is not nationalism or religious fanaticism which can be the basis. It is a quality of recognition that the diversity is valuable. Just like in the nature you can see, there are so many diverse plants, so many animals, so many birds, and the same kind of bird or animal in different areas of the world, they again have different characteristics. So there is a great richness, a great playfulness, great sense of humor and aesthetic sensibility behind the whole manifestation of life. So it is also recognizing this value of diversity in the right way and not getting trapped in the fear that anyone who is not exactly thinking and believing and appearing like me are against me. I have to try to control them, I have to try to put them down. This approach of power is always connected with tension because you are always afraid of the other. There is always a suspicion that when you are not very careful, the other can overtake you. So we are acting on the basis of fear. And that can change only when you consciously confront your fear and see that accepting and respecting each other means also helping each other to understand. So democracy cannot really work without an ongoing wakeful process where everybody is helped also to see and understanding. So this deepening of the understanding is the responsibility of all those who have any understanding of it, all those who can see that it is not to be taken for granted because there is a constitution there or there is a system that it will work by itself. No. It needs to be considered, it needs to be reconsidered, it needs to be looked into more carefully, more deeply. And it's always connected with reflecting as to what are the basis for my considerations, from where it is coming. So it requires a parallel understanding of oneself in a deeper way so that the democracy can be going healthily. Now, for example, in USA, there is a very actual situation where somebody has been elected from the democratic system and everybody from the officially involved areas, they are all saying that this has been a very well and securely gone about election. So far it is very good and valuable, but when someone who is in the power, for whatever reasons, they are not accepting that, what way to deal with it, because maybe nobody thought that something like that will happen, because it was more or less taken for granted that when somebody is accepting the system of the election and the election committee is saying that it has all gone fairly and that every party who is involved in it can also understand that, then there should not be any problem, but someone can see it in a different way. So how one deals with this? And this is also a very challenging aspect of the democratic process. When somebody is going unsensibly, somebody is going with a one-sided way of looking, maybe their reasons can be fear, their reasons can be vested interests, or almost like an addictive process of being with the power. But still, how does one deal with such people? So, if there is a tendency to impose power from one side or the other side blindly, those who understand need to take more initiative through communication, through bringing awareness, through bringing understanding, through bringing insight into the nature of the system, so that they bridge to people who are following such things and bring or attempt to bring a deeper understanding in them. Because if you just go on condemning somebody, putting them as bad people, you are polarizing more strongly, and then we are also going into the same misunderstanding of treating the other in an inimical level. So whatever be the standpoint anybody is in, the connection should be made to them so that they can understand and their insight becomes deeper. Their fears are taken into account, their preferences, their prejudices, their desires are taken into account, so that you can address these issues and see that the real democracy is not against all that. It is simply a help to make it realizable in a healthy, in an intelligent, in a sensible way. Because sometimes you can try to achieve certain immediate results by superficially doing some things, and it may look successful. But in the long run, it will be destructive. It is just like somebody who is going in a boat, feels cold, and rather than trying to take care by other means, if they start cutting parts of the boat itself, it's a small wooden boat, and if they start cutting part of the boat and making fire with that, it looks like immediately, okay, we're getting warmer. But it can be that it starts creating a leak in the boat, or it can create a disbalance in the boat, and maybe these are parts which are very important. So, or the fire can spread in a careless way. So there are so many things. And it is worse in human reality. We are in a stage in the development of the world where we need to take into consideration that it is not just about one country or another country. It is a global situation. And what is happening in one part of the world, even though it is important that others are not interfering, but it is also concerning the others. What is happening in the USA, how things are developing there, who is there in the responsible positions, what kind of basis is there for their decisions, are going to be decisive for the ecological developments, are decisive for the dealing with the pandemic, dealing with the wars and conflicts which are in different parts of the world, which can very easily move in wrong directions, in dealing with governments which are going repressively with their own people. So there are so many factors. Only when there are people who understand the sense behind democracy and see this, that it needs to be kept alive through an ongoing alertness, ongoing presence. It is not an alertness of trying to hold some theories or arguments. It is just understanding it more carefully, because the real understanding makes you more peaceful, more graceful, more compassionate. And that has to be the right basis. So that should not be an approach of punishment and condemnation and destructive and revengefulness. It should be more creating bridges through communication, through bringing understanding. And that is the responsibility of all those who have some capacity, some power, some insight, some possibility, and who wants to take care to come out and share with the people in their circle, in their connections. Because this is a very important stage. And it is not only just a question of one part of the world. It is a global situation, and we cannot anymore look away from the reality that what anybody does in one part of the world is affecting everyone else directly or indirectly in the whole world. Especially you can understand and see it in ecological processes. In many other things, the deeper you consider, the deeper it will become, the more clear it becomes that it is a deeply interconnected reality. And those who have been going deeper into themselves and understanding life, they have been going on reminding, hey, this is a non-dualistic basis for the reality, and the duality, the polarity in the game of the world can be healthily gone about only when we connect from the depth. And the depth is the understanding of the non-duality of the reality. And this is the paradoxical thing in our life. In order to live in the process of the duality, in order to live with the diversity, and to accept and respect the uniqueness of every individual, the uniqueness of everything, and yet to be able to coexist healthily, you need to gain distance. At least some have to really have that distance to be able to communicate, to be able to convey these aspects, and to share with those who are within their reach. So it is connecting to the authenticity, connecting to the truth, connecting to love, and connecting through love and compassion. What has to be the basis? When I am often giving emphasis to everybody that take time every day to be with yourself, to be silent, to get familiar with that state where you are without your being anybody in particular. This is the sense behind it. When you are coming to your state of beingness, where you are not in any role or any goal, and get familiar with it consciously, because it is not enough that in the sleep we come unconsciously into that state and feel rejuvenated. Sleep is very important, it's good. But we need to get consciously in touch with this space so that we can get familiar with the nature of the reality, the nature of the wonder, the nature of the blessing what we have. So it's a very delicate and important challenge with which we are confronted with in different ways in different parts of the world. And the word pandemic is referring to this global situation. People are traveling, so you cannot just stop people from traveling. We cannot go back into the state where everybody was just in narrow, small boundaries, kept secluded. No, it is a time where we need to understand to go carefully, go intelligently, go deeply, go humanly with the challenges, And that is always connected with our own gaining inwardly a certain inner distance to our identity. Why is it called the egocentrism is not so healthy? Every child needs an ego at first, but a point comes where you have to ripen, you have to go beyond this cocoon, where you have to go beyond the stage of the caterpillar and awaken to the reality of the butterfly. It is an inner metamorphosis which is needed for everybody individually, and we all have that responsibility. We need to understand our conditioning. We need to recognize what is the basis of our judgment. We need to look at ourselves very honestly, very courageously, very candidly. And then, through that, a different understanding will arise, where we understand the other also so deeply, because we understand that the other is in the similar state. Everybody is trying in their way to come in terms with life, to be happy, to be loved, to enjoy, to celebrate, to have fun. So it is a very deep responsibility, and this has to be understood. Nothing in the nature of the reality, nothing what is valuable remains in the same state. That what is valuable need to be taken care, that need to be supported, that need to be kept alive through the understanding and the awareness process. And we have to see that it is not just trying to change things peripherally, but trying to bring deeper insight through communication, through insights, through bringing sensibility. And that is the responsibility, and that is very, very decisive.